So can you tell me about your martial arts and the history, how you came on this?
Okay, well, my introduction to the martial arts basically started in the early 70s in the military. And so I was with the military police,
Mm-hmm.
and we were taught combat judo.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the training to become military police.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, from there, I got transferred from that unit to I got transferred to the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I met Ricardo Mendoza. Uh, we were on a tugboat,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an ocean going tugboat. And Ricardo Mendoza was the martial arts instructor on that small Navy ship, and so he I became his student, but it was not easy because in order to become his student, he goes, I want you to get into a horse stance.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he goes, and I want you to watch the sun go down. Now, the sun was at a 45-degree angle.
Mm-hmm.
So, the sun was going to take about 30 minutes to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got in the horse stance. I'm in there, and after a couple of minutes, your legs start to shake,
Yeah, of course.
and and I started to get up. He says, if you get up, don't bother coming back. All right. So I had to stay there, and I'm in this horse stance. My body is starting to shake. Sweat is going down, and your body is shaking uncontrollably, and the pain is really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to get up and go, you get up. You can't come back. So I had to stay there. And I did. I stayed there, tears coming down, and just shaking, right? And uh, and that was it. That was the first class. Just watch the sun go down. The next day, I go get out from my bed.
Mm-hmm.
In the Navy, the ship, the beds are 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I jump out of my bed. My feet and my legs are like rubber. They just collapse. Boom! I hit the floor because my legs cannot support me. Because of that
Yes,
being
of
in
course.
force camp. So for the next couple of days, I'm barely walking through the ship. My legs are like rubber. They hurt. If I sit down, I need help getting up. Uh, and so, but that week we continued. And so he continued teaching us. And when the boat arrived in the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
we were there for a couple of weeks. And he goes, I am going to take you to my hometown up in the mountains in Baguio. And so he took us up to Baguio, and all his family is martial arts. They all do martial arts. And so we spent about 3 or 4 days up in the mountains of Baguio. And the whole time we were there, from before the sun came up till after the sun went down, we trained. And that was my first introduction to stick fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Arnis 63 Generals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, and Ricardo Mendoza, he liked to fight. He was one of those teachers that, you can do forms, but forms is not where it's at. He goes, you need to fight. You need to get in there. You need to feel the pain. You need to see it coming at you, right? So he was that kind of teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When we got back to the United States, the ship that I was on was going to be decommissioned and given to the Mexican government.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave us our choice of duty. Where do you want to go? So I said, I want to go back to the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
Because the martial arts there were really good. So I got lucky. The government sent me back to the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I was with the Office of the Provost Marshal.
Mm-hmm.
So we enforced the law in downtown Olongapo, not on the military base, off the base.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it was a time of martial law. You know martial law,
Yeah.
right? You got to be off the streets by midnight.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the street by midnight, you get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
So we were those guys, the guys out at night arresting people because they're out after midnight.
Yeah, I see.
So there's a lot of nightclubs,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way down the street one way, down the side streets everywhere. And so all those nightclubs, rock bands, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the sailors, the Marines, everybody goes out there to have a good time.
Yeah,
But then a lot of fights break out.
of course.
So instead of calling the regular police,
Mm-hmm.
they call us because we respond faster.
Mm-hmm.
And also because we like the action, right? Because you want to be the first one there.
Yeah.
You're running up the stairs or running into the nightclub, and there's a big fight, and you're grabbing people left and right, throwing them down. It's just a lot of action.
Of course, yeah.
And so you get to put to use what martial arts experience you have.
Yes, yes, yes. It must be applied system only.
Yes, you got to apply it, right? It's not, if you can't apply it, then you don't know it.
Of course, yeah.
And so it was a lot of application.
Mm-hmm.
Then after a couple of years of doing that,
Mm-hmm.
I got sent back to California. In California, I met Nari Babao. He was the first full contact weapons champion of the United States.
Mm-hmm. What kind of weapons?
The tournament allowed any weapon, so you could use nunchaku.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I get it.
You could use the shinai.
Yeah.
You can use the staff.
Uh-huh.
You can use double stick.
Ah, okay.
You beat everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first time in the United States to have that kind of tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he the winner of that. He's also a good friend of Dan Inosanto.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dan Inosanto is his son's godfather.
Yeah.
So everybody's really close in the Filipino martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Nari Babao was on the next ship that I got stationed on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him, and I had this book that Dan Inosanto wrote, and it was The Filipino Martial Arts by Dan Inosanto.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm through the book, and I see the guy, and I look in the book, I look at the guy, I look in the book, and I go, it looks like him. So I asked him, hey, is this you? He goes, yes. I go, can you teach me? He goes, no. He doesn't want to teach me. And I asked him many times, will you teach me? No. In the Philippines, the chicken pox
Mm-hmm.
is not a disease that is there.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get immunized for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he caught the chicken pox.
Uh-huh.
So all his Filipino friends disappeared
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to catch it.
Yeah, of course.
I had it when I was young. So you're not going to catch it again because
Yes.
you already had it.
Yes.
So I went to see him in quarantine. And I brought him magazines and stuff for him to read. kept him company,
Mhm.
and so he wouldn't be lonely, right? And one day he goes, "Go down to my locker, get my car keys, and bring them to me." And that's how I became his student.
Mhm.
But it was I had to be there, for a
Of
long
course.
time before he accepted. So he started teaching me the stick fighting,
Mm.
and his style of stick fighting is different from a lot of other people.
Mhm.
And so, uh, and of course, he liked to fight also.
Of course.
So he's still on the ship, and when we were loading ammunition
Mhm.
on the ship, so the ship is in the bay, and the other ship comes in to give us ammunition.
Mhm.
So he had to stay because he was a master at arms. So he had to guard the ammunitions and stuff.
Mhm.
And so there was a martial arts tournament
Mhm.
happening that weekend, and he told me to go see his wife, and then his wife took me to the tournament,
Mhm.
and she goes, "They have full contact stick fighting.
Mhm.
Okay, you're going to fight." And I go, "I never fought full contact stick fighting." "Well, today's your first day. Yeah. And so I signed up.
Mhm.
Nobody signed up, just me. So the tournament promoter, he goes, "Okay, all you guys that won first place in doing weapons forms and this and that, now's your time to see if your stuff really works. You know,
Yeah.
join the full contact fighting. And so they did. They joined, but they had to be coerced into joining. Because I'm the only one that joined freely,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So we fought, and they weren't ready for that. When the guy with the shinai, I attack, I broke the shinai in his hands. The guy
Mhm.
with the nunchaku, he's doing, and I just pa pa pa, and the nunchaku goes flying out into the crowd. I
Mhm.
disarmed him 3 times. That was my first time in there, fighting full contact.
Mhm.
So I I really like the Filipino martial arts.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that I never got hit. I have a scar right there. Just bam, blood go. But still, you have to continue practicing.
Yeah, of course. I think it's normal.
Yeah, it's normal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I put a band-aid, wrap it, continue, right? So that's good.
Yeah.
Uh, from there, I got transferred again, this time to Hawaii.
Mhm.
In Hawaii, uh, I was told to go pay my respects to great Grandmaster Pidoy, who was a retired Eskrima master,
Mhm.
and to go study with Snooky Sanchez.
Mhm.
Snooky Sanchez was really good, especially with the bullwhip. But of course, I had to go pay my respects to great Grandmaster Pidoy. He was 89. And so I went to his house the same day that the airplane landed in
Mhm.
Hawaii. I got on the phone, called his house. He gave me the address. I took a taxi cab there, and there were other students there. And I go, I'm paying my respects on behalf of Grandmaster Nari Babao. And he says, good. He says, so you do Eskrima? I says, oh yeah, I love Eskrima. I want to continue learning and all of that. He says, how bad do you want to learn? I go, real, real bad. He goes, you be here tomorrow.
Mhm.
And so I had only been in Hawaii one day, and already I got to be there to train the next day.
Great.
And but he was supposed to be retired, but you know he accepted me as a student. 89 years old.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Now I've been doing, combat judo, Sphinx karate, Arnis Batangas, Arnis 63 generals, and all this stuff. And so I'm young. And I go, yeah, I'm real bad, right? 89 years old, he grabbed a hold of me. He had me screaming, right? Because you're not expecting an 89-year-old man to just throw you around like a rag doll, right? He just grabbed a hold of me. His grip was like steel, and if he grabbed a hold of you, you were going to scream for your mother. It was. He was very good at handing out pain. Really good at giving you pain. And the reason was, he started at age 5. He was 89 when I met him. So that's a lot of years.
Of course.
Of practice.
Yes.
And so now that was the Derobio Eskrima. Now, Derobio Eskrima is different from almost all the other Filipino martial arts. But in most of the Filipino martial arts, you go force to force. The strike is coming at you, you stop it. You block, you check, you hit. In Eskrima, you don't stop it. You help them, so you parry. If the is coming in, you parry to the outside, so you go to the weak side. Get behind. And so you're behind their force, and that's where you attack. But that's not where the secret of this martial art is. The secret is in when you get touched. When you get grabbed.
Yeah.
You get grabbed, that's where the pain starts. All right? When somebody grabs you, okay, or they put you in a lock, right? They lock you this way, they lock you this way. Well, that's just the beginning, right? That's where we start. Once locked, that's when we attack. We attack from where you think we are at our weakest. And so the locks are actually counter locks. So you lock me, I counter lock you. I can get out of your lock, but you cannot get out of mine. Right? And so all my locks can be done with the stick, with the knife, with the sword, or empty-handed. And so they're bone crushing. So when you lock me and I counter lock you, this is going to break. This is going to break. And so, but it's not just one, because it goes, I counter you and then I let you strike at me again, and then I have both arms. Now both arms are going to break, right? And so, so I don't know if you've seen any of my YouTube videos.
Yes,
where I show some of the locks.
Yes.
Right? But that's the Derobio Eskrima. It starts from the locks.
Okay.
And so there are a basic 144 counter locks.
This is a lot.
Oh, it's a lot. Yes. On YouTube, I put maybe 3 or 4.
Of course, yeah.
Right? But it is a lot. Okay, so, but I've met a lot of good martial arts practitioners because if you meet a good one, then you're going to continue meeting good
of course.
And so, that's how I got to meet Dan Inosanto, Richard Bustillo, Dionisio Cañete, from the Cañete family. I took more than one martial art. I also did Kyokushinkai, with Masoyama style, hard style.
Yeah.
So you need to have both. you need to have the hard and you need to have the soft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can go
Yeah,
from
so
one to the other.
if you have some task to, if you must to hard fight or soft fight.
So, I continue, learning from them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when I got transferred again, I got transferred to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty high up in the mountains. I think altitude 8,000 to 10,000 feet up.
Mm-hmm.
So good altitude for training. And I met a lot of good martial arts instructors there.
Mm-hmm.
Melchor Chavez, who he was the not only a full contact stick fighting,
Mm-hmm.
because he trained under me also, but he was the trainer of Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero, the WBC, WBA World Boxing Champions.
Mm-hmm.
So good hands, good teachers. So I've always continued learning. Whether it was that when I moved to Amelia Island in Florida, I continued training. So I've done jujitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and other stuff. So you always have to continue learning,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
Because you cannot defend against something you know nothing about. If you don't know about knife fighting, if you do not know how to fight with a knife, you cannot defend against a knife.
Of course.
If you do not know how to fight with a stick, you cannot defend against the stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't know ground fighting, you cannot defend against it. So you have to train in the stuff that you want to be proficient at. And so you need to be proficient at a lot of things, not just one.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So it just gives you an idea, of my background. So it's always learning, always learning.
Of course. From this one, the martial arts of you have, you make the someone own your own martial art.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
What kind of it?
Well, I call it Majapai. In Chinese, it means horse family system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Robio Escrima, which the one that I like the most, is the rhythm of the horse, right? And
What is like it? The rhythm
yeah,
of the horse.
rhythm of the horse. When the horse is galloping,
Yeah.
right? That's what the sticks sound like when.
Okay. I get it.
And then with all the other systems, okay, because I've been doing martial arts for over 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a long time.
Yeah, of course. This is one time.
You know, uh, so you take the best of everything that you learn and put together
Mm-hmm.
that works together, right? It has to be the way that I move, right? So it cannot be counterproductive, right? It has to be, if I move a certain way, then I have to have the techniques that move the way that I move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so if I favor techniques that are passing, yes, I want to be able to stop, but I like the passing more,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I try to put things together that work together, that they blend,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I can move from one technique to the next without there being a stop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go boom, boom, boom. Oh, what do I do next? No, I want to go boom, 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 and continue no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Majapai also stands for, in Chinese, it means Medina's family system, which is me.
Mm-hmm.
And also because of the Majapahit Empire, which is the empire of the early empire in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So I named it after all of that. And so, but basically, it's my movement, is the way that I move, right? It's because there are a lot of martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
but if you move the way everybody else moves in that martial art, then you're just a robot.
Of course. Yeah.
You have you have to make the martial art yours.
Yeah.
A martial art is alive, right? It has to be alive. It changes, it grows,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, if not, it dies, right? It'll stay stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to adapt to any situation,
Yes.
and so you have to put yourself in all those situations. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and uh, so that is the martial art that I created, and but I had to have good teachers and a lot of time behind me to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
I could just go, okay, I got my black belt. I'm going to make my own system.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't, no, it doesn't work that fast, right?
Yeah. Of
You
course.
know, you know, over 40 years training with many people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and suddenly I become the martial art,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Yes.
me.
Yes.
It's Medina. I'm the martial art.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yes. I got. So the originate of the your martial art system, it's basically the Filipino martial art.
It's yes, it does have some Japanese, and you know, I've also done Western swordsmanship and European swordsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, the so I like fighting.
Yeah.
So I do fencing,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but not Olympic fencing because that's in a straight line.
Yes. Yes.
I do the 16th century style, 17th century style of fencing.
You recreate it
Yes.
by yourself. Yeah.
No, with other people.
With our people.
There's a lot of people all around the world that love to fight
Yeah.
in in that style of fighting,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so they have tournaments and that you can fight in, where you can fight with sword and dagger, sword and shield,
Yeah. Yeah.
double sword,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can hit for real,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, it's not just the Filipino swords, which it could be, the Filipino swords, is like kind of short, and this one here is all Damascus and stuff. But the I like fighting with also the long sword, like the rapier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the rapier, is very very long,
Yeah.
okay,
Of course.
but it's also real, right? Well, not a toy, right?
Yeah. Of course.
So
Yeah.
you know, so the so you have to be able to use everything. I like fighting with swords, whether it's that the Japanese sword,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether something like this, right? That's 300 years old,
This one.
right? So yeah, 300 years old.
Wow.
So uh, made by one of the most famous swordsmiths of that time period.
Yeah.
So yeah. So notice how I put the sword in on the back of the sword, so the edge doesn't get scratched. All right, so the
Yeah.
edge is very important.
Yes.
So so you have to be able to use everything. So I like sword fighting, long sword, short sword, the spear, the staff. When it comes to the knife, right? So whether it's right, right. So either knife, right? So
Okay.
you have to be able to play with it, right? So so when you're playing, with the knife, you have to be able to play with it, right? Some
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like the karambit, so
Wow.
it just, you know, or, you go to the big Bowie knife, right? So, but you have to play with all,
Of
you know,
course, of course.
you know,
You
uh,
must work with all of kinds of knives, swords, and all of kinds of distance.
I like, putting the fencing mask on,
Hmm.
and you put a boxing glove in one hand and the knife in the other,
Hmm.
and then you go in and you start, doing your stuff. But when the other guy's blocking, boom, you just hitting him in the face so that he knows, oh, you can't just concentrate on the knife
Of
because I
course.
also have
Yeah,
this hand
yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Yeah. And so you make it more realistic. The
Yes,
training has to be realistic.
yes, yes.
You have to make it hurt a little bit, you
Of
know?
course, of course. A little blood.
Yeah, but you have to, you know, you you have to put intent.
Hmm.
You know what intent means, right?
Yes.
It means I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to block here, block here, block here. No, block, 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 right? I'm going to come in hard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because the guy in the street is going to come in hard,
Of course.
right?
Okay.
And so you train soft, you get killed.
Yes, yes.
You have to be able to stop them, boom, in their track, bam, quick,
Yeah.
And so it's not playing. It's not a tag game,
Yes,
you know.
yes, 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 yes. So Let's talk about the knives and the swords. Okay,
Okay.
okay. What kind of schools are you recreated? Are you learning? I mean, what tradition? What kind of tradition? We have the
Okay.
Spain tradition. We have the
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. Philippine tradition,
Mm-hmm.
Spain tradition,
Mm-hmm.
the Italian, German,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because all those schools throughout history
Yes.
have used the knife.
Yes.
The knife is not the sole property of just the Philippines, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Because there's good sword and knife fighters in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a Norman traditional.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's good sword fighters in Russia. I mean, everywhere there has always been swords and knives,
Of course.
right? And so they all have their traditions, and so you have to learn what their traditions are.
So you have your own technique, your own martial arts, and you teaching. You have
Yeah.
some own technology of teaching methodology.
Because the psychology of teaching, uh, you know, is different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you look at the psychology of martial arts today, right? Does it have a psychological impact on your training?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right? Because you know, it can put you in a different state of mind, right?
Yes.
It's different from everyone. It can take away your fears,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It can build confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the again, it's going to be different because the psychology, let's say, for someone that, let's say, is a rape victim and their training is different than a businessman that is learning because he wants to get in shape,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the psychological differences are going to be different, because their experiences are different. What they want to get out of it is different, right?
Yeah.
You could take a meek, mild mannered person and make them a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So you could change their whole psychology of how they think about themselves, and
Yes.
and and, and so uh, you know but like I said, it's going to be different for everybody.
So you have uh, the for the some person you have some methodology of the and psychology system.
Yeah, yeah. The methodology of teaching.
Yeah.
Let's see. Uh, you could put it together. You could put your methods together like in a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wrote a book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I see it.
The Romeo Escrima, right?
Yeah.
And so I put the method of teaching, the exercises, the way of striking and blocking and all of that. That's a method, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's going to be different for everybody, because everybody's different.
Of course. Of course.
Whether you're big or small.
Yeah.
What do you call it? But just because you have something written down on paper or you have a methodology put together does not mean that that's it.
Yeah, of course.
Because, right, it has to change. It has to evolve, right?
Yes.
Because it evolves with the times, right? Because techniques that were valid, let's say 10 years ago or 20 years ago,
Yes.
might not be valid today because people are learning more.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they're getting better. So now stuff that worked then doesn't work anymore because they're better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to take your methods and make your methods better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, the martial art has to be alive.
Yeah, of course.
It has to grow, it has to live, it has to breathe, and so it's not round and it's not square.
Yeah.
It has to take any shape and any form.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And so and that's how your methodology should be like that. It should be able to change, to respond to any situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just one situation, So your movement should work whether he's coming with a knife, whether he's coming with a punch, or he's coming with a stick, or he's kicking, right? It should work. It has to be simple, right? Because if it's not simple, you're not going to be able to make it work.
Yes.
If you cannot make it work in class, you're not going to make it work in the street.
Yes.
Right? So, and so sometimes, people go, wow, that's really complicated. No, right? It's complicated because you make it complicated here, right? Because in reality, it's the simplicity that makes it complicated, and so your mind can't comprehend it. It says, well, it shouldn't work because it's too simple. No, that's why it works.
Yes.
And so, but again, you have to train your mind, right, and your body to work as one, right?
Yeah.
And you do that by continuous application, right? So application. Okay. Now, while you're doing application, the other guy changes what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stop and go, well, that's not what you're supposed to do. You just continue. You just change the application, but you continue application. So whatever you do, I'm going to move with you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let what you're doing stop what I'm doing, right? And so basically, you have to take control. right?
Yeah.
You know, you have control, I have to take the control away.
Yeah, of
You know,
course. Yeah.
and so and that's how it should be. You know, and so and you know, and everybody has, you know, their own methodology for teaching,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
of course, of
Because,
course.
uh, but they all take you to the same place. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like for example, uh, you see a lot of the old masters that in the beginning real hard, bam, bam, real hard. Then they're old and now they're soft. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then you get the guys that were soft in the beginning, right? Then they get old and now they're hard, right? Because you have to have both, you know.
Of course.
You have to have the two sides of the coin,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Or the yin yang, whatever, right? But you have to have both, you know. And so, um, you know, that's my way of thinking, you
Yeah,
know. And
yeah,
so,
I got it. I got it. So,
you know,
can I ask you about the? Do you have some logic of your system?
the logic,
Yeah.
you like what makes it work, or
What? Yes, yes, yes.
well, the logic behind it, or what makes it work, is first of all, it has to have good mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
right? It has to be something that, you know, is mechanically sound, easily applied,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Right? The foundation has to be good. The strong foundation. Okay, our foundation is based on the triangle.
What kind of triangle?
The triangle, like the pyramid
Yeah, yeah,
triangle,
yeah. I got it.
right? Okay, that's our foundation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we use our walking or our stepping in or stepping out, we use the triangle as the foundation because it's very strong, right? I mean, it holds up the pyramids, right? So you can see how strong the triangle is.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't cross our feet, right? So when you're stepping forward, you cross your feet, you broke the triangle,
Yeah, yeah. I
right?
got it.
Well, you broke your foundation,
Uh-huh.
right? So whichever way we move, the triangle moves with us,
Mm-hmm.
and so we try not to cross our feet and things like that. That's our foundation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the triangle can be forward, it could be upside down,
Yes, yes.
but it's still a triangle.
Always. I got it. Yes.
And so, but again, it has to be solid, and you have to work it to where you're not consciously thinking about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I see.
You know the Nike swoosh,
Yeah.
they say just do it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? That's it. Just do it, right? Because somebody attacks you, boom, just do it. Go in there and take care of it. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
You know, your mind has to be prepared. It has to be trained. And, you know, what makes the difference between a really good fighter that does 12 rounds or 15 rounds in the ring and the amateur that runs out of gas after 3 rounds?
Mm-hmm.
Is, you know, because you learn how to calm your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mind can also be very, very fast, right?
course.
And so if my mind and my body is working 3 times faster than your mind and your body, how can you even stand in front of me?
Yeah.
You know? Because, you know, I'm working so much faster up here.
Yeah.
And it's subconscious, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not, you're not going, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, you move, and then my mind is moving so fast, I don't think about it, I'm just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the swoosh, right? The Nike commercial, right? Just do it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
So, you know,
Can you tell me about the youth master? Yep.
okay.
What need the student to take this level?
You just have to give it everything you have. Okay. You know, students today are not like the students of a long time ago.
Hmm.
A student of a long time ago, you tell them, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, they would do it, you know. And you tell them, you know, okay, you're going to go home, you're going to practice, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. They go home and they're playing video games. They're doing this, they're doing that. Then they come back to class. Did they practice? No. They only practice when they're in class.
Hmm.
But, you know, there are those students that, you know, that you tell them and they do, and they go and they practice and they practice. And when you're not around, they're still practicing.
Yeah.
Come nighttime, they're still practicing. They get with their friends or they get with other students and they're still practicing outside of class,
Good.
right? Those are the ones that are going to reach the higher levels
Yeah.
because they are actually becoming the martial art. You know, it's not I do martial arts, I am the martial art because they're so into it that it's just they eat it, they live it, and they sleep it, right?
Yeah.
So they do everything is based on the martial art, and so I've been lucky. I've had quite a few students that were like that,
Hmm.
that were, you know, they just one. His name is Brandon Jordan,
Hmm.
and he everything I taught him, he learned it. He was like a sponge, you know, and he worked it and he worked it and he worked it. And so, you know, at 21, he would go to visit a grandmaster of another system, and the grandmaster of the other systems couldn't touch him. You know, he's only 21. You know,
Hmm.
but the martial art was inside of him already. You know, he breathed it, he lived it, and
Yes, this type of mind. This is a way of mind.
yeah. And so, and of course, you know, what he learned was not watered down,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't, well, this guy taught it and left out this much. This guy taught it and left out that much. The other guy taught it and left out that much. I taught it, I don't leave anything out. I want my students to be better than me,
Of course.
because if they're better than me, then that means I'm doing my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the guarantee of my legacy, right? Is that that I leave behind students that when people see them, they go, "Oh wow,
Hmm.
that guy really knows what he's doing.
Hmm.
Don't mess with that guy because you know." And so there are students out there that I've had that, you know, it's like, "Oh wow, you do not want to mess with that guy," you know. You know, some of my students, one of them was the co-founder of the Dog Brothers fighting system.
Hmm.
Arlen Sanford was one of my students.
Hmm.
And so I've had students that they live it. They live the martial art. And it's not a guy that you want to get in front of, you know. And so when I teach somebody, I want to teach them so good, I don't want to get in front of them, right? Because if I teach you that good, that means if I don't want to get in front of you, that means I taught you good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I want my students to be, you know? I want them to go out there and to be the next generation, you know?
Yeah. 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 I got it. Um, the next question that I want to ask them, you're practicing a lot of weapon, knives, swords, and another. What do you think in the 19th century, 91st century, in the future, will have it the future? What is it?
Yes, and the reason is because the knife is silent.
What do you
Right?
mean?
It doesn't make any. The knife does not make any noise.
Yes, yes.
You know, if they take your guns away, you're still gonna have a knife.
Yeah.
Anything can become a knife. Piece of glass, right?
Yes.
So a broken bottle, you could take, cavemen had obsidian knives, right?
Yeah.
Which is volcanic glass, right?
Yes.
So anything can cut if you put an edge on it.
Yeah.
Anything can stab you if you put a point on it, right?
Yeah.
So I have a pen. Can I stab you with a pen? Sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Pen can kill you. It can poke an eye out.
Yes. Yes.
So it could be anything can be a weapon, right?
Yeah.
You could take a credit card and you sharpen the side of the credit card.
Of course.
You could cut somebody. So
yeah.
Because there's always going to be somebody, that, whether it's a criminal or even in the military, right? For special operations, right? You don't want to make a noise.
Yeah.
What do you use? You use a knife, right? So, so the knife is here to stay.
Yeah, of course. I got it. Thank you. Yes. We will be alive. One another question. If the knife and another silent weapon will be in the future, so what do you think about the psychology, the teaching of psychology in the future? So if we work with the knife, with the sword, it's the kind of psychology we must have to work with it.
Well, yeah, I really don't understand the question, but I'll try to answer it.
Okay.
The thing about using the knife is that you have to be willing to get up close and personal, right? It's not like a gun, right?
Yes.
Gun, you're over there, bam, I shoot you.
Of course.
No, knife, I gotta be on top of you. I gotta be close, right, to use it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which means, it's gonna take a lot of guts
Yeah.
for a person to come up and actually come up and cut you up.
Yes.
It's not, especially, if you have, some people, like good people, right? Like that don't want to harm anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean it.
Right? Okay? So, there's always going to be bad people that want to harm people.
Yeah.
Right? But the only defense against those bad people are good people that have bad skill, right? That can come in and defend.
Yes.
And so you have to overcome, right? You have to be able to overcome your fears, right?
Yes.
Because cutting somebody up is very scary.
Yeah.
Killing somebody is very scary, because of your conscience, right?
Yeah.
And so it's something that you have to train yourself to do. It's just, there's no way around it, the only way to train cutting is to cut, right? And so, what do you cut? The Japanese like cutting rolled up tatami mats, right?
Yeah.
The cutting bamboo, you know. A knife fighter, what's he gonna cut, right? You know, some people like cutting bottles filled with water, right? But it doesn't feel like this,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So you have to, you know, learn how to cut something that feels like this, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, whether it's a big slice of beef or pork shoulder or whatever, you have to learn how to cut, right? And then, you know, cutting means, all right, you do like this, it don't cut, right? In order to cut, it has to be like that and then pull, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it's, you know, so you have to have that feel. You have to train yourself to feel that.
Yeah.
And then you have clothing, right? And so, you know, you have people go like that, you know. That's not really much of a cut, right? I mean, if your knife was sharper than a razor, maybe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if not, you have to stop and cut. You have to push. You have to, when you, it's not, you know, it's like, for example, let me see. It's an old knife, right? You know, you know, right? You can go like that.
Yeah.
No cut,
No cut.
right? In order to cut, you know, you really have to, you know, really have to put it there and learn how to cut, right? And so you notice, right? You go like that, you know, sharp knife don't do nothing.
Yes.
But then, right? You know, so it's a difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you go, I cut you. No, you have to really cut, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to, you know, if you're going to train to cut, you have to cut.
Yeah.
If you're going to train to stab, you have to stab something.
Yeah.
You know? And so you have to train
your mind.
You know, you have to have the mind trained, the psychological, you know, being behind what you're doing, right? Yeah. And then, you know, you have to be willing to accept the consequences afterwards.
Of course.
Right? Because, you know, you kill somebody, you're going to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
Unless it was, you know, self-defense, you know, 5 of them and only 1 of me. Yeah, now I can use a knife. 1 and 1?
No.
Not so good,
Not so
right?
good.
Yeah. So the consequences you have to look for, right?
Of course.
So, yeah, you can say, yeah, I'm a knife fighter. You know, how many people you kill? How many scars you got? Right? You know, and then, you know, nowadays, everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but people out there teaching military knife combatives.
Yeah.
How many were in the military that are teaching knife combatives? Right?
Yeah, not many.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. I was in the military.
Yeah.
22 years in the
22
military.
years. This is very much.
Very much. Yeah.
Very much.
Right. So I know the military.
Yeah.
So I can say, yes, I taught military, right? But, you know, just putting on a military uniform that you bought yesterday and then going, getting knives and everything and say, yes, I'm a military tactical instructor. Well, you were in the military? No. Well, you know, you have, if you're going to do something and you're going to say that you do something, well, you should have done it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, it's just, to me, you have to have done it. You have to be, you know, if you say, yeah, I'm a military instructor, right? You were in the military.
Yeah.
Because you're a military instructor. You know, you can't say, or did the military hire you? Then you're a military instructor.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're not a military instructor if nobody hired you or you're not in the military, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the tactical stuff, I just take with a grain of salt.